You're listening to Life as a Band Leader with Angela O'Neill and Outrageous 8 Records, where music meets real life and every story swings. From rehearsals to the spotlight, we're sharing the music, the mayhem, and the magic of leading a modern band.
Ooh, recording in progress. Wow.
Hey, everybody, this is Angela O'Neill, and welcome to our podcast named Life of a Band Leader. Welcome back. I'm not sure what episode this is. I think this might be 8 or 9, actually. And I'm very happy to invite my friend Guillaume Bougard. Am I saying your last name right?
Yeah, it's all right.
You
Yeah,
tell me.
I'll give you a B minus on this one.
I got the Guillaume part. How,
Yeah, I mean, this is an A plus.
how do you say the last name right?
Bougard.
Bougard. Okay. So,
Yeah, well,
I mean,
those are sounds that don't really exist in the English language, so
no,
you're forgiven.
I know. I take a shot at it though. So I take a shot at it. That's all I can
Yeah,
do.
you did a great job.
And the reason I wanted to invite my friend Guillaume onto the podcast here is because he owns a very interesting label out of Texas, and it's called Taboo One, right? Is that how I say it right?
Yeah, it's Taboo One, and it's out of Texas because I'm in Texas right now, but it could be out of Paris when I'm in Paris, out of Kingston when I'm in Kingston. It's wherever I lay my hat, my house is there, like the
Okay.
Temptations
And
used
tell
to.
me, so you have a really interesting background. You're originally born and raised in Paris, am I right?
Correct.
Okay. And originally you didn't make your living from music. What was your original career?
Well, I chose to go into banking because I thought it would turn me into a serious person, somebody reliable and so forth. And I wanted my parents to be reassured that I was not going to be, some sort of wandering gypsy,
Right.
um, because I had these tendencies to be a little bit of a rebel,
Okay.
and so I I majored in finance and marketing in a French business school, and when I looked for a job, I looked for a job in banking in Chicago, actually,
Oh, okay.
because I'm married an American, and after I fulfilled my French military obligations, I in in North Africa, in Algeria,
That's
Christine and
that's a story for another
my
day.
wife and I went back to Chicago instead of going to Paris
Hmm.
because she's from Chicago, and I thought, well, it would be nice to, you know, explore rather than go back to Europe. So
Right.
I found a job in Chicago in a French bank actually, which was really not the purpose, but so I went into banking as a credit analyst, and I taught myself American accounting
Okay.
and and um, and got hired. I mean, I was really lucky because the day I interviewed, they had just released somebody, and they needed to fill that position, and I fit the profile that they
Right.
were looking for. But I mean, I originally I didn't intend to work there. But anyway,
Right.
I worked for 3 years in Chicago, then moved back to Paris when they had an opening in that bank for me in something that I was interested in, and that what I had learned in America would definitely help me um, use those skills in France.
Got it.
Uh, and I got bored after a month or two working at headquarters because all of a sudden you had 50,000 people.
Right.
And, whereas in Chicago, we were only 15, and I like the small team atmosphere.
Hmm.
So I quit, joined an investment fund that was just starting. No, joined Drexel Burnham Lambert,
Hmm.
an American investment bank in Paris that had invented junk bonds, and I was interested in that
Hmm.
because junk bonds were a very innovative financial technique.
Okay.
And so I joined them. They went bankrupt after a month, and the French team created a French company, and we structured leverage buyouts,
Okay.
which is really something that I would not do if I were a business owner. And after several years, I became one, and I I stayed away from all these financial gizmos that we were peddling when we were an investment fund, because debt is not that great. I mean, anyway, I'm uh, digressing from the music business, and well, after a few positions here and there in Paris, I met. I went to a concert by Third World, which is one of the leading reggae groups from the 70s and 80s
Yeah, they're
and,
awesome.
and beyond. I mean, they have multiple hits, and I'm a huge fan of them, still am. Um, and after the concert, we went to have a sandwich with my friend, and on the way back to the subway, we just stumbled upon the tour bus of
Oh.
the band,
Mm-hmm.
and they were loading the equipment, and so I saw the lead guitar and founder of the group, a gentleman named Cat Core, who just passed a month ago. And I said, "Oh, hey, Cat, thank you." The typical
Yeah.
fan talk, and I asked him, do you intend to make a solo album? Because the lead singer just released a solo album, and I thought maybe it would be great if you did one, because you're one of the best guitar player, and you play cello and harmonica, and you sing well too, and
Yeah.
that would be lovely. And he said, "Well, you're the first person who's asking me this, and yes, I am preparing a solo album." And I don't know what happened, but I saw myself say to him, tell him, "Look, I'm going to help you release it." And I had no experience in the music business. The only experience in music that I had before was I had run a pirate radio show when I was in school,
Oh, right,
you
right.
know, but I didn't know anything about the business, licensing, production, and publishing rights, and all these very specific
Yeah.
um, aspects of the business.
Mm-hmm.
But so I just told him, "Look, I'm going to help you," and he said, "Well, cool." And he gave me a chance. Long story short, he gave me cassettes of his demos. We went to the hotel where we staying at nearby, and he gave me cassettes. We played the cassettes in his hotel room. I said, "Wow, this is really cool. I like it." And
Yeah.
he gave me a couple cassettes, and then I said, "Thank you." And then I had a customer in investment banking that owned an airline flying between France and the French Caribbean. A
Mm-hmm.
charter flights.
Right.
Um, and I was trying to help him structure some financing. I can't remember exactly what it was, but anyway, during the course of the conversation, he told me, "I love Caribbean music, blah blah
Oh,
blah," and I said, "Well, I'm a reggae fan, and speaking of reggae, I'm working with Cat Core from Third World, and I'm looking to release his album." And he said, "Well, you should talk to my friend Eric Basset from Declic Records, who's the largest Caribbean and reggae label in France." And I said, "Oh, cool." And I knew about Declic because I had several of their records. Uh, and So I got the appointment with the head of Declic, a gentleman named Eric Basset.
mm-hmm.
Um, and I was very lucky again, because uh, that week when I met him, Third World had a hit in the Belgium charts.
Mm-hmm.
So he saw that third world was still current, you know, and
Right.
worth money, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "All right, I'm gonna give you $20,000 and we released the album." I said, "Oh, mm, yeah, it's not enough, but I'll try and see." And
The start.
yeah, and we after back and forth with Jamaica and Cat Core's management, we got a deal signed and the album came out in 1996. Uh, yeah, or 95, 96.
Yeah.
So I created a French corporation to house the music business,
Right.
and um, and Catcore was so happy, you know, that I released his album and really did a good job doing the artwork, the mastering, and I got really interested in the sound aspect of things.
Uh-huh.
Not really mixing because I'm not a sound engineer, but
Right.
mastering for me is a very very important phase of the manufacturing. You know, putting out music. You know,
Yeah.
if you don't do a good mastering, you could have a great mix, but it won't sound 100%.
That's
You know what
right.
I mean?
Yeah.
And so I got really interested in that and also artwork. I love to be very involved in artwork
Yeah.
and mastering.
And
Those are my
yeah.
two primary worries because it's really a source of stress for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I did that, and he was so happy that he invited me to Jamaica for the Reggae Sunsplash Festival, which is still in Jamaica, I think, still current. The largest reggae festival in Jamaica with, you know, 3 or 4 days of nonstop uh, concerts from 3 in the afternoon to 9 in the morning. And so I went there and he introduced me to everyone,
Ah,
absolutely everyone. I
gotcha.
mean, Bounty Killer, Slan Robbie, Pablo Moses, Sugar Minot, Dennis Brown. I mean, huge stars.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Gregory Isaacs. Um, who else? Ninja Man, Mutabaruka, everyone. I mean, that was just great. And he was really, you know, bigging me up, as they say in Jamaican, and saying, "Yeah, this is my partner Guillaume Bougard. He's from Paris. He's a good guy. Work with him."
Right.
And because Third World is very successful, and he, as a studio musician in Jamaica, aside from Third World, was very active, especially with a label called Exterminator, which was huge at the time.
Yeah.
Everybody was listening to him and kind of, yeah, okay. If he says that, it's worth investigating who this kid is, because I was 32 at the time.
Right.
And so I signed several deals while I was in Jamaica. And so I signed 2 records from a gentleman named Pablo Moses, whom I hugely admire.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he did an album called A Song in 1980 on Island Records that is for me one of the 5 top reggae albums ever released,
Yeah.
aside from Bob Marley. And he trusted me with 2 albums, 2 dub albums,
Mm.
because I love dub. It's a form of reggae. I'm not sure you're familiar with it, but it's instrumental with echoes and special effects, and it's the ancestor of a remix.
Okay.
Jamaicans, by the way, Jamaica has invented a lot of music techniques that are used in other genres,
Uh-huh.
electro music, techno music, all picked a lot of tricks and techniques from Jamaica.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm not going to go into a history course on Jamaican music, but
No.
and I do encourage people to look and get informed and there are some good books and some good records um, about Jamaican music and how it created a lot of things. For example, rap, hip hop, started in the 80s in America, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. In Jamaica, they were rapping over records in the 60s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what's his name? The gentleman who introduced rapping in America, Cool Herc, is Jamaican.
Oh,
And
I didn't
yeah,
know that.
and Cool Herc in the 80s, in the late 70s, started, playing music in open air, and this is all of that is Jamaican.
Right.
The sound system culture is hugely important. Anyway, to go back to, so I released those albums and in France mostly, and started exporting to export markets in the rest of Europe, in America, and people got the word, so I got a call from the leader of the Abyssinians, which to me is one of the greatest roots reggae group from the 70s. And because I really like that period of Jamaican music, and I think that would be the golden era of Jamaican music, the 70s and early 80s. Huge creativity, great sound, great songs, and very, very spiritual and very positive. I mean, Bob Marley wrote a song called Positive Vibration. I think this title alone summarizes very well what the vibe was, even though Jamaica is very poor and very destitute, and in the 70s even more. They were able to transcend those terrible material conditions by emphasizing the spiritual and the salvation, and the Rastafarian movement in Jamaica is a unique phenomenon that appropriated the Holy Bible, but transformed what was originally the master's book, the slave owners. They turned it around and made it theirs by incorporating elements of repatriation to Africa, having their own prophets and like Haile Selassie, and it became a very indigenous culture, very rich, very they had nothing and created something,
right?
And their music reflects that.
Yeah.
They had nothing and created something, and the infrastructure of the music business in Jamaica is very rudimentary, but they were able to go outside in the world.
Right.
First in London, New York, where there were strong Jamaican communities, but it went everywhere. And now you have posters of Bob Marley in Tibet.
Yeah.
Or in Nepal, or I saw it's everywhere.
Yeah.
So they are so resourceful, so creative, that I really admire their perseverance, their grit, and the culture that they have created. So being part of that in my very small way, for me, is a huge honor, and also being accepted by artists like Sly and Robbie, who played for Grace Jones, Bob Dylan, everybody in Jamaica, of course, but a lot of people in outside Jamaica.
Yeah.
And when they welcome me, with no prejudice and not thinking, oh, this guy is a small dude from France, we're not going to respect him. It really was touching.
Yeah.
So in addition to releasing their music, I'm very interested in the legal defense of musicians and artists' rights.
Mm-hmm.
I'm part of an organization called Music Justice based in London that sues record companies,
Oh, wow.
majors, and copyright societies that don't pay Jamaican artists the way they should be paid.
Mm-hmm.
This is very important also to stress that in my approach to music, because as you know, the music industry is fraught with fraud,
Oh, yeah.
with piracy.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, the biggest pirates are Universal. Quote me on this, please. Go ahead. Universal,
Well, you're
Warner,
on the record.
Sony. I mean, those guys are, to me, they're Satan, and they deserve what they have coming. And so is Spotify, by the way.
Well, it's certainly a business that is so tricky because there's so few resources for anyone to work with, myself included. And it sounds like your experience was just so inspiring. I mean, what a course of events that you've just told me, run into somebody loading a tour bus. You say, I love your work. Are you doing a solo album out of nowhere, right? It's not like you're a music producer. And then next thing you know, you're in Kingston at the biggest festival in the world. I mean, this is it almost feels like it was meant to be, doesn't it? I mean, when did it dawn on you that you were no longer working in finance and you were suddenly a music producer? When did that
well,
You know what I
it
mean?
happened very quickly,
Yeah.
because when I created Taboo One, I made the mistake of informing my boss at the bank I was working for,
Okay.
and they immediately said, "Oh, you cannot be a shareholder of a private company. I mean, a privately owned business while you're doing equity work." And I said, "Well," and they told me, "Well, you're going to have to make a choice. Either you shut down your business and continue working for us, or suspension marks." And I said, "All right, F you."
Yeah.
And back then, I didn't even negotiate an exit package. I was stupid and arrogant,
Get out.
young and restless and
Yeah.
reckless.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because in the banking industry in France, the law protects the employees so well that I could have negotiated a huge exit package, and I didn't, which
Yeah.
was crazy, because the first year I went from, say, 100 to not even one in terms
Right.
of money.
Oh, I know.
And and but what's funny is that every time I thought, oh shit, this is not gonna work, I'm gonna give up, I'm going to send my resume to another bank,
Right.
I would get like maybe $500, $1,000
Right.
checks, or and it would kind of pull. I had hair back then, so it would pull me out of the water,
Yeah.
let me gasp for air for a second
Back in. Got you.
before drowning again. And it lasts the first year. I made no money, and I give thanks to my wife, who had a stable, and who is a stable person, by the way, and she had a stable employment, and
Yeah.
we got by.
Yeah.
Second year, I made a little bit more money. Third year, I made some money. Fourth year, I made money. I never made as much money as when I was working in an investment bank, but I made enough
Yeah.
to, to provide for our family and
Mm-hmm.
and housing and so forth. So all my friends who stayed in investment banking are now millionaires. I'm not. So be it, because none of them have produced records with Slan Robbie.
Right.
None of them have produced Horace and the Uhuru, Bitty McLean, and all these Gregory Isaacs and all these idols of mine, you know. So I'm good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And of course, you get to do music.
Yeah, it's it's fascinating to watch. I'm not a musician. I don't know how to play music. My son does, my daughter does also, but I don't know how to play an instrument.
Hmm.
Um, I could mix when it was analog mixing.
Right.
Now Pro Tools bores me to tears, and I don't like it, so I don't use it.
Okay.
Um, but so I can play music, but uh, I can produce, you
Hmm.
know, and I don't want to sound pretentious because it is pretentious to say I'm a producer, you know, in the studio,
One second.
especially working with people who have 50 years of experience and who have produced for real
And let me ask
people
you
like,
this. Let
you
me ask
know,
you real quick. What do you think the definition of that word means?
hmm. It's very difficult to put a definition, a one definition. Uh, I can tell you what I do.
Yeah.
What I do is I have ideas of things that could be happening in a studio.
Okay.
You know, let's do a funk album in Jamaica.
Right.
Um, let's I you know let's record this artist on that instrumental. You know,
Right.
things like that.
Yes.
Or I want the dub album to sound this way and that way. So I'm sitting next to the mixing engineer and kind of harassing him to hear what I want to hear.
Hmm.
Um, but working with musicians like Slide Bar and Robbie Shakespeare,
Hmm.
um, Google them. Slide Bar was a drummer and Robbie Shakespeare was his bass partner, and they were the number one rhythm section in Jamaica,
Hmm.
having produced probably 50,000 tracks in their career.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they are the most prolific musician
Hmm.
in the history of mankind. Them and a couple of other Jamaicans, because Jamaica per capita is the largest producer of music.
I did not know that.
I mean, it's just mind-boggling. It is mind-boggling.
Oh,
But anyway, working with those people, you cannot tell them, okay, this is the singer. He's going to sing the song to you with his acoustic guitar, and go ahead and do your thing and work your magic. And very seldom have I had to tell them, no, I want something else. I want this
right.
and that, because there's no need. They know what to do,
Right.
and it's amazing.
Yeah.
And watching them work in the studio for me has always been uh, a true spectacle, you know, of and something really that defines the word awe, AWE, you
Yeah.
know. And I kept that. I asked Robbie Shakespeare, the bass player. He was a very good friend of mine. I mean, when he came to France, he would spend time at my place and went to his place and stayed there. And uh, when I asked him, how do you do this? Because I watch him, you know, lay a bass line, and he would pause for a second and then run the track and play, boom, 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 you know. And he said, I asked the father to give me a bass line,
Hmm.
and I'm like, whoa, is that all? And he said, yeah, I'm just doing what he tells me to do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, but you know how to play bass? Yeah, I know how to play bass. And but I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
which was like, wow, you don't know what you're not thinking of, I'm going to do A minor, then this and that. No, I just play. And his bass lines are super famous, and because reggae music is one of those genres where you recognize a song by the bass line.
Yeah, very much so.
And so if you have a bass line that's being used and used again by other musicians, because everybody uses other people's ideas in Jamaican music, and redoes the same beats and rhythms over and over again, with their own sauce to it.
Right.
So yeah, he was hugely influential.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and
Very, very identifiable for sure. Hey, tell me
yeah.
about I noticed that that you were one of the first people to put Jamaican music kind of out into the digital world. So tell me about how that all came about.
Well, that's another crazy story.
Yes, it is.
I was at Tough Gong Studio in 2003.
Mhm.
And that year, I turned 40 years old, and Robbie Shakespeare turned 50 because he was born in 53 and I was born in 63.
Mhm.
And before then, we were chatting on the phone and said, oh, it would be nice if we could just go to the studio and celebrate your 50th and my 40th and birthdays. And he said, yeah, cool. So a little short time thereafter, we booked Tough Gone, which is the studio that was created by Bob Marley.
Mhm.
Very nice studio
Yeah.
in Kingston. And we booked. So we asked Slide and Bar on drum, Mikey Chung on guitar, Ansel Collins on organ, Robbie Lynn on keyboards, Sticky Thompson on percussion, and I think that was about it.
Mhm.
So, and I just told them record songs, and over, was it 1 day or 2 days, they recorded 15 instrumentals.
Wow.
Just relaxed and playing whatever they wanted, and they played "A House Is Not a Home" or um, you know oh yeah, Dean Fraser on horns, saxophone,
Mhm.
Chico Chin on trumpet, and a French guy named Stepper on second saxophone.
Mhm.
So we had the whole shebang, and
Yeah.
they just played. And during, when the one of the breaks, Slide and Bar was looking at his iPod. Remember those? The iPod with the rotary
Yeah,
thing and the very small screen, black and white.
I do.
And I said to him, "Why did you buy the iPod? It's for crap." And I have this. I had a Korean um, digital device that played MP3s, and I said, "No, iPod is good because you have a store." I said, "Oh, okay." And he said, "You're going to be able to buy music soon." It was not yet ready, the music store, the iTunes store back then. Now it's called the Apple Music Store.
Yep.
And I said, "You're gonna buy music from what?" "Well, you're gonna buy music." And I thought, man, this is crazy. And I decided to sign all the content I could, buy the rights to everything I could buy,
Mhm.
um, or signing licenses or buying the rights outright. Because back then, nobody saw it coming.
Mhm.
And I thought, well, what am I risking? If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
And I back then you could contact people like humans
Human
at
being.
Apple, eMusic, and what was the other service back then? So I contacted the guy from Apple, and he had a French name. So I thought, are you French? No, but I have Basque origins from. So I said, oh yeah, okay, cool. And so I signed a distribution agreement with Apple Music, and after a few months, he told me you should go work with a company called IOTA out of San Francisco
Mhm.
because they are content aggregator and you don't need to sign separate deals with
Ah,
each platform.
okay.
And I said, oh, wow, thank you. So I contacted IOTA using the name of that gentleman from Apple. And IOTA signed me. I was their first reggae label. And
Oh, cool.
they told me, well, they were a startup company. I mean, they were just like a few months old.
Right,
And they told me, um, you're going to be the first reggae label to be sold on all these platforms.
right.
And I said, wow, cool. Uh, so that's how it happened,
Yeah,
you know. And
that's
the
amazing.
first few years weren't, I mean, I didn't make any money. I mean, but it was nice to get, $100 that month, a couple $100. And every month it kept going up
Right.
and it reached a plateau. And then Spotify came into the scene in 2010, 2011
Mm-hmm. It sounds right.
and destroyed downloads. I
Yeah.
mean, totally over a course of 2 years, downloads went from 100% of my sales to
Yeah.
0%.
Yeah.
And
And
streaming went from 0 to 100.
wasn't it Pandora too? Pandora and Spotify?
Yeah, Pandora, Spotify,
Yeah.
eMusic,
Yeah. So that,
Google.
yeah, all of
Uh,
it.
yeah. So now um, I still make vinyl records from time to time because I love the support, the physical object, and but
Yes.
it's become a luxury product that very few people buy. I
It's
mean,
very expensive.
CDs. I used to make CDs. Uh, I haven't pressed a CD in maybe 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't even remember the last one I did. Oh yeah, Horace Andy.
Yeah.
And and it crushed. I mean, I didn't sell nothing,
Yeah.
you
Nobody
know.
has a CD player anymore. But I feel like there is a trend, and minor as it might be, where people are back to buying like just a little CD player to have at home. And
Yeah.
that's glorious as far as I'm concerned. Um,
Yeah,
because basically the system is designed to make it so the artist doesn't make any money at this point.
totally, totally. Well, I still buy CDs.
Yeah, I do too. I do too, and I have a CD player and a record player, a couple of record players.
And
Um,
me, I just rip the CD into my computer and stream the music. I rip them in lossless
yeah,
and play them on my phone or on my stereo because I have an old-fashioned stereo
yeah.
with loudspeakers and amp. I'm so old school, and I still, I'm so happy when I helped my daughter set up her speakers because she didn't know that the red went into the red and
Right.
into the amp
Yellow,
and
yellow.
and and,
Yep,
and how to click on the button and so forth.
yep.
And anyway,
I love.
um,
So for those folks who are reggae lovers like yourself, how would they find you if they went online or whatever? Because I want them to be able to find your collection that you represent.
um, I started a taboo1.com website because I tried to sell music as NFTs a couple years ago
Yeah,
because I thought, the crypto back then, 2 or 3 years ago, crypto were big,
right.
and I thought I should try and sell music using crypto as a means of payment, and also the blockchain for me was a very interesting way of circumventing piracy
Yes.
and the majors and Spotify and all of these guys that,
Yeah.
as you say, try not to pay the artists.
Yeah.
So it tanked totally. I mean, we made money, but not enough to grow.
Yeah.
So I gave up on the idea, but the website is still live, but I need to shut it down because so the only way to go and check my stuff is to go on Bandcamp.
Okay.
And Bandcamp is a nice experiment, I think,
Mhm.
because it allows independent labels to sell their music directly to fans
Right.
and pay whatever they it is charged. I don't make a lot of money using Bandcamp, but I support it.
Yeah.
So the website, the page is Taxi Taboo
Okay.
because I work with Taxi Records from Sly and Robbie and Taboo One. So
Got it.
taxitaboo1.bandcamp.com.
Okay, perfect.
I'll send you the link.
Okay, yeah,
Uh,
love it.
Otherwise, I I don't think a small label like mine has any value added having a website.
Right.
And I'm I'm too lazy, man. I
It's a
mean,
job.
and all this social media stuff, like you need to be on TikTok, you need to be on Instagram, you need to be on Twitter, you need
Yeah.
X. I started doing this when I was doing the NFT things, and the community was growing so freaking slowly, man. It was
Yeah.
very frustrating, and I'm not selling hits, so I'm not gonna be a TikTok sensation overnight.
Right.
That I realize. I know. And
You can make your peace with that.
oh, totally. Yeah, yeah. And quite frankly, I'm not sad about it.
Yeah.
Quite the opposite. I just don't subscribe to the notion that I should be somebody on social media.
Right.
I don't give a shit about this.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Well, it
And
depends whether that's, I mean, that doesn't seem like the audience anyway for your,
no,
and it's certainly not the audience for jazz in my case. So
yeah,
fine.
yeah.
There's no loss there for me. Now, we're about at the end, but what I do at the end is I always love to ask people a series of questions that don't have anything to do with what we just talked about. So let me ask
Okay.
a couple of quick questions and you just free flow your answer. What is something you're learning or unlearning this year?
Coding,
Say it again.
coding. I use the Claude app, the AI app that helps me understand. I mean, that I'm trying. I did an experiment. I built a website using Claude.
Okay.
Claude. I don't know how you pronounce it in English, but in French
Anyway,
it's Claude. Claude or
yes.
ChatGPT or one of those.
Mhm.
And I learned a lot of things. My daughter is an expert in Python, and she tried to teach me, and it was really hard.
Mhm.
But using AI tools to tell Python to do something
Right.
and and struggling with that is a challenge.
Hmm.
What I also learned, um, I I'm not really a huge believer, but um, I force myself to take a neighbor to Bible class every Monday night
Okay.
and attend those classes. And I learn things about the New Testament and the Old Testament. I mean, I can't say I'm a devout Christian or religious person, but
Right.
it's interesting,
Yeah.
you know. And mentally, it's I I like analyzing text.
Hmm.
Of I love reading. I read every day a ton of things. Um, I'm also learning about there's this Swedish company that I work with as a consultant called Boson Energy, Boson. They have invented a new process to process municipal waste
Hmm.
into hydrogen
Oh, wow.
without any toxic fumes or emissions.
Emissions.
and
Oh, wow.
it is very not very close, but I'm familiar with furnaces and so forth because parallel to being a reggae producer, I was also the founding shareholder of a company that invented a new advanced material,
Right.
and this Swedish company has a very interesting technology. So I'm learning about waste and how to turn waste into a resource rather than a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
And because
Fascinating.
landfills are the biggest emitter of methane, which is a hugely dangerous uh, gas, worse than CO2,
Yeah.
28 times worse than CO2.
Yeah.
So anything that helps, that is mixing capitalism and science for the betterment of humankind, I'm always interested
Yes.
because I'm a staunch believer in individual enterprise
Mhm.
and entrepreneurship and capitalism,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's a good combination. That I'm going to look into that Boston company. That's actually very fascinating.
It
Uh,
is.
well, this has been a fantastic conversation, and thank you so much. My guest is Guillaume Bougard. I said it wrong,
Yeah.
but I said it almost right, and that's important. And we have been talking about how he became well, a producer and a everything. A what? What would you say? What would you end up saying?
Oh, well, I don't like that word, but let's use it still. Advocate for musicians and artists.
I love that.
Um, yeah, well, it's a little too Californian for my taste.
Easy there. Easy there,
I'm
Tuck.
in Texas, remember? Red state.
It's not, it's okay. We won't tell on you that you're an advocate, even though you live in Texas. So thank you very much, you guys, for joining us here on Life of a Band Leader with myself and Guillaume. And this is another fascinating conversation that had a chance to talk to with people about all kinds of reggae and Jamaican music. Thanks, everybody, for joining
Thank
us.
you, Angela, and big up yourself.
Thank you, love.
Well, that's a wrap for today's episode of Life as a Band Leader. We hope you had as much fun listening as we did making the music. If you loved what you heard, go ahead and hit follow, share it with a friend who loves a good groove, and come see us live sometime. You can find all our upcoming shows, music, and a little more band madness at outrageous8.com. Until next time, keep swinging, keep smiling, and keep the music alive.